Let me tell you a thing or two about Harold Wilkins. The man's a legend in his own right. 67 years old, sharp as a tack, and built like he could still knock down a tree with just his bare hands. Ever met someone who's been through so much hell, so many storms, that they just don't flinch anymore? That's Harold. A Vietnam vet, a retired mechanic, a man who's watched the system chew up, spit out, and stomp on people like him more times than he cares to count. Harold's life. Not flashy, not glamorous, but steady. He's got this old black 1978 Cadillac, barely holding together, looking like it belongs in an antique shop on wheels. Yet, it's his pride and joy. His faithful companion despite sputtering like an asthmatic mule on those cold, damp mornings. That car, along with his grandkids, keeps his heart beating steady. Especially Marcus, his oldest grandson. Marcus. Nobody really knows what he does. Always on assignment. Which, let's be real, is just fancy talk for don't ask, don't tell. But Harold. He doesn't pry. Family's family, and that bond means everything. Now, Harold's corner of Memphis. Quiet. If you ignore the wailing sirens, flickering streetlights, and cops who patrol like they're trying out for some reality TV show. Yeah, let's just say his neighborhood's not exactly earning any safest place to retire awards. But Harold. He never complains. Complaining's for folks who haven't stared real hell in the face. And Harold's seen more of that than most. So it's a Friday night. Harold's driving home, just grab some groceries. Milk, bread, the boring essentials. Roads are mostly empty. Just the occasional rusted-out pickup or a nosy raccoon darting across the asphalt. The air's thick, that southern humidity so heavy it makes your shirt cling to you like an ex who can't take a hint. Harold's got the radio crackling, some old blues tune filling the car. The raw, honest kind of music just like him. Then bam. Red and blue lights explode in his rearview mirror. Blinding. Relentless. That gut punch. That sinking feeling when life's about to hand you another beating. Harold felt it deep right in his core. He mutters, half under his breath. Well, here we go again. He pulls over. What else is he supposed to do? Run. Please. The man's too old for that nonsense. The patrol car doors open. 2 cops step out. Young. White as a loaf of Wonder Bread. One's chewing gum like he's in a toothpaste ad. The other's got that, I am the log swagger, the kind that makes you roll your eyes. Evening, sir, gum chewer says. Flashlight slicing into Harold's face. Mind telling us what you're doing out this late? Harold doesn't flinch. He's faced worse interrogations in jungles far away. Driving home. Last I checked, that ain't illegal. Gum chewer smirks. License and registration. Harold hands it over. No fuss. No words. Meanwhile, Swagger Boy's leaning in, squinting at the back seat like he's expecting to uncover a stash of stolen flat-screen TVs or a duffel bag full of cash. Spoiler alert. All he's going to find back there is Harold's old fishing hat and a half-crumpled bag of groceries. What's in the trunk? Swagger Boy asks, voice thick with suspicion. Harold lets out this dry, unimpressed chuckle. What, you think I got bodies back there or something? Sorry to disappoint. It's just a spare tire and a toolkit. You wanna see? Be my guest, Harold offers, calm as ever. The cops exchange a look, the kind that screams, we're gonna make this a long night for you, old man. Then they ask Harold to step out of the car. Now Harold's no fool. He knows the drill. Black man. Late at night. T-road. Yeah. This ain't ending with a handshake and a have a nice day. Still, Harold keeps his cool, stepping out with his hands visible, like he's rehearsing for a public service announcement. They pat him down, and Harold can't resist tossing in some sarcasm. Careful, boys. You might find a Werther's original in my pocket. Dangerous stuff. Neither of them laughs. Then they start with the real stupid questions. Where were you earlier tonight? Did you pass by the gas station on 5th? Heard there was a robbery. Harold raises an eyebrow. Robbery. Dude, I'm 67 years old. You think I'm out here pulling stick-ups? What's next? Gonna accuse me of jaywalking? Gum chewer shrugs. Just routine questions, sir. Harold mutters under his breath, yeah, right. Next thing Harold knows, they're slapping cuffs on him. You're being detained for questioning. Swagger Boy announces like he just won a prize. For what? Harold demands, voice steady but firm. We'll figure that out at the station, Gum Chewer says with a grin that turns Harold's stomach. As they shove him into the back of their cruiser, Harold stares out the window, face calm but mind racing. He knows this ain't about justice, it's about power, plain and simple. And Harold, he's not about to let these kids think they've got the upper hand. The Cadillac sat abandoned on the roadside, its dim headlights flickering like a weary witness to the injustice unfolding. Harold's night had officially gone straight to hell. The police station was as welcoming as a dentist's office in a horror movie. Fluorescent lights flickering, the stale scent of old coffee lingering, and that suffocating silence thick enough to make your skin crawl. Swagger Boy and Gum Chewer hauled Harold into the interrogation room, a cold metal chair, a table bolted to the floor, and a one-way mirror practically screaming, "We're judging you." Swagger Boy leaned back against the wall, arms crossed, trying way too hard to look intimidating. Meanwhile, Gum Chewer flipped open a manila folder like he was about to crack the case of the century. "All right, old-timer," he began, grinning like he'd already solved the puzzle. "Care to explain why you were near 5th Street tonight?" Harold, calm as ever, raised a single eyebrow. "You mean driving home with my groceries? Real criminal activity, huh? What's next, busting me for buying whole milk?" Swagger Boy stepped forward, voice dripping with condescension. "We're investigating a robbery, Mr. Wilkins. And your vehicle matches the description of the getaway car." Harold blinked, then let out a deep, belly-deep laugh, the kind that echoed around the room. "My busted old caddy. A getaway car. Man, that thing barely gets away from a red light." The humor didn't land. Gum Chewer slammed his hands on the table. "This isn't a joke, sir. You're in serious trouble." Harold leaned back, folding his arms. "Serious trouble for what? Buying bread and eggs? You got nothing, and we both know it." But they weren't backing down. They threw around words like probable cause and suspicion, tossing terms at Harold like darts at a board. He saw right through the bluff. This wasn't about evidence. It was about intimidation. "Here's the deal," Swagger Boy said, leaning in close, like he was about to share some dark secret. "You tell us what you know and maybe we cut you some slack." Harold smirked. "Let me guess. You want me to confess to something I didn't do so you can clock out early?" "Sorry, son, I'm not playing." The tension in the room felt thick enough to slice with a butter knife. Harold didn't flinch. Didn't blink. He'd faced worse. War zones, systemic racism, the kind of battles these boys wouldn't survive a day in. After what felt like hours, they tossed him into a holding cell, the iron door clanging shut behind him. Harold sat on that hard bench, hands resting on his knees, mind steady as a heartbeat. He muttered under his breath, a faint grin curling on his lips. If this is their best game, they're in for a rude awakening. Morning rolled in, and Harold found himself shuffled into a cold courtroom, the kind that had all the charm of a DMV. Hard benches, bored faces, and a judge who looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. Harold. He sat calm as ever, clean shirt, old boots, like a man with nothing to hide. The prosecutor, some slick guy in a cheap suit, strutted up like he was about to deliver the performance of his life. "Your Honor," he began, voice oozing fake authority. "The defendant was found near the scene of a robbery, in a vehicle matching the suspect's car." Harold raised an eyebrow. "Matching the car? Yeah, 'cause my old caddy's just so common these days, huh? Guess everyone's driving antiques now." The gallery chuckled, and even the judge cracked a smirk behind her gavel. But the prosecutor wasn't done. He pulled out a grainy, potato-quality photo from a security camera, waving it like the Holy Grail. "This is our evidence, Your Honor. The vehicle seen leaving the crime scene." Harold squinted. "You kidding me? That thing looks like a smudge on a windshield. Could be any car." The judge, unimpressed, leaned forward. "Counselor, Do you have anything more substantial? The prosecutor gulped but kept pushing. We believe further questioning is necessary. Harold raised his voice, calm but commanding. Lady and gentlemen, I've been questioned so much I could teach a master class on it. Maybe we move this circus along. Just then, bam! The courtroom doors swung open. In strolled Marcus, sharp suit, calm, deadly serious. Not saying a word. He handed a folder straight to the judge. The air in the room shifted. The prosecutor blinked. Who's this? Marcus flashed a cold smile. Just someone here to clear up your mess. The judge scanned the documents, face shifting from confusion to surprise to outright irritation. Mr. Wilkins, she said finally, eyes on Harold. It appears you were nowhere near the scene of the crime. The evidence is irrefutable. You're free to go. Harold stood, adjusting his jacket. Well, Your Honor, that's the first sensible thing I've heard all night. Outside the courthouse, Harold and Marcus stood by the Cadillac, its rusty frame almost triumphant. Harold lit a cigarette, took a long drag, then broke the silence. So, you gonna tell me what the hell just happened, or you keepin' this James Bond act going? Marcus smirked. Let's just say I've got friends in high places who don't like sloppy work. Harold squinted. Friends in high places. Boy, you better not be running some underground poker ring. Marcus chuckled. Not exactly, Grandpa. But when local cops try to pin a robbery on a war vet without evidence, it gets noticed. Harold narrowed his eyes. Marcus. What are you? Some kinda secret agent. Marcus leaned in. Let's just say I work for people who handle things quietly. When I heard what happened, I made some calls. Harold laughed, half disbelief, half pride. You tellin' me I just got bailed out by the CIA? Or is it FBI? Got a badge I should know about? Marcus grinned. Something like that. Those cops. About to have the worst week of their lives. Internal Affairs loves a good scandal. As if on cue, 2 squad cars screeched into the lot. The same cops from the night before stepped out, smug, until 2 men in black suits approached, flashing badges. Harold watched the panic spread across their faces. Well, would you look at that, Harold said, leaning on his Cadillac. Guess karma's quicker than I thought. Marcus nodded, calm as ever. They'll learn. Harold patted Marcus's shoulder. Good job, kid. But next time, clue me in before I end up in a holding cell. Marcus smirked. Where's the fun in that? As they climbed into the Cadillac, Harold rolled down the window, letting the wind whip past him. For the first time in a long while he felt something rare, justice. Pure, undeniable justice. Marcus, Harold said, voice lighter than it had been all night. Remind me to buy you a damn drink. Marcus grinned. You're buying the first round, old man.